Deborah and I are sitting here at, where are we, the Wyndham Wingate?
Wyndham Wingate in Virginia Beach.
In Virginia Beach, yeah, and weather is great here, but I flew in yesterday and we went to a Sugarland concert last night, and they really put on a good show.
They did. They were really
Yes.
good. Jennifer Nettles is amazing.
Amazing. I don't even know all of their music, but she's such a good performer. Such a great show. So it was a lot of fun. It was a little chilly, but we thought we were going to get rained on.
We thought we were going to have a thunderstorm, but we didn't. So
and we were prepared for it. We were going to sit through it in a thunderstorm even, but no, we were good. So it was fun. So today we're just brainstorming, and we're actually going to pop open the laptop and do a little, a few things on websites and stuff, and do some work together or whatever. But we're also going to hit Virginia Beach and have some lunch and spend the day together before I have to fly home. But really, the whole reason I turned on the camera so you guys could join us is because Deborah is hilarious. Like, she's She's British. Can I call you a Brit?
Yes.
Okay, so she's a Brit.
Absolutely.
So it's kind of interesting to me because, as you guys know, I've been to Australia 5 times. And so the Brits and the Aussies have a lot of things in common. One of the things I find particularly amusing is that some of the funny ways that you talk, like some of the weird things that you say, are totally appropriate in Redneckville, where I live, like in the country. Like, for example, they add R's on words that end in vowels, but words that end in R, they don't say the R. So just to give you some examples, a sweater would be a sweater, right?
Yeah.
But if a word actually doesn't end in R, you put it on there, like idea.
Yes.
Like, I have a great idea. See, and that's perfectly acceptable where I live, in the deep woods of Tennessee. I got a great idea. See? And the other word that I thought was really funny is reckon.
Reckon, yeah.
Now, I reckon that's only used in Tennessee, but I reckon I was wrong.
Yeah, you were. Yeah, we do use that too.
But you use it differently because you would, like, I notice, like, we use it in first person where I live. I reckon that's a good idea. See?
We'll say, I reckon that's so. How do you reckon that? So it's kind of a thinking
or
thing.
I've heard she reckons that it's, that it was a good idea, or I've heard it, used in third person, which I've never heard in Tennessee, which is really funny.
Yeah. I don't know, we have lots of phrases and words like loo and
loo. The first time I went to Australia and I'm looking for the bathroom, which they call it the toilet or the loo.
Right.
I think you call it the toilet if you're common people, but you call it the loo if you're a little bit classier, maybe. Either way, I couldn't find the darn thing because everybody assumed I needed a shower. Right. So, and it's funny because I guess we get it from England, but as children we would sing that little song, "Skip to the Loo."
Yes.
I never knew what that meant.
Right. Well, I don't know if that's really what it means either. When I first came over, people used to say, "Why do you call it the hood of a car, a bonnet?" And I said, but I had no idea. It just always did. So I told them, well, it's because it's kind of like a hat for the engine. I have no idea if that's true, still to this day, but that's always what I tell people.
That reminds me of Tanya. You guys know Tanya just left yesterday, the day before, to go back to Canada. And she was talking to one of her friends, and I said, what in the world are you talking about? She was talking about a toque. It's a ski cap. It's a ski cap.
Right.
It's this hat, that comes
with the
down.
tails.
Yeah. She called it a toque.
Tails.
I'm like, what the heck is a toque?
Because I know my Australian friends used to call, and it was before sport utilities became really popular.
Ute.
They call them utes.
Yeah.
And
it's
I
a
was
truck,
like, what is a ute?
guys.
It's a utility truck.
No, it's just a truck. Like everything where I live is utilitarian. It's farm trucks, it's whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, somebody said that, like, we'll take the ute. I'm thinking, oh.
Yeah, what's that going to be? You think you're going to go outside and find a yak?
Right. So you've been in America?
Mm-hmm. I've been in America for pretty much off and on since 1988.
So you spent about half your life in England, and then half.
No, I was a baby when I came over here.
Yeah, right. And but what are some of the biggest differences to you?
I think the biggest difference here is that there really isn't so much class consciousness. I think that everybody really does have equal opportunity if they're willing to work over here.
Interesting.
You don't have that thing of, do you have the right family name? Do you come from the right place? do you have the right accent even? Because within England we have like loads of different accents.
Right.
You know, so my family
so
originally...
is that derived from like the royalty there? Like, and how that...
Yeah, I think it pretty much goes back to aristocracy. The rest of us were just serfs. My family definitely would have been serfs. But it's here, I think it's just really cool that, you know, opportunity is open to everybody and you just have to work hard.
That's a neat point, because you really can go from a lower class citizen, you know, you can go from total poverty and to an upper class citizen.
Right.
As far as financially, and really you can change classes. It
right.
has nothing to do with your roots.
And so
That's
you
neat.
really can't properly, you know, you might be semi-accepted, but
maybe you could marry
the aristocracy in
marry
England,
it?
I'm sure, still look down on celebrities, even though they hang out with them. You know, they still think Bex and Victoria
But you could marry
Beckham
over or marry up or
yeah.
marry down. But
yeah.
but otherwise you can't really hop the line.
But there'll still be people who will look at you and go, oh, she's from Essex, or she's, you know. And it is literally where, I mean, for my family, we're from Liverpool. My dad talks like that, you know, like the Beatles, like John Lennon. And when he came over here, he said, I never thought in a million years, because that accent is considered very lowly, and it's a poor area of the country. And he said, I never thought in a million years I would have anybody say, just talk to me, I love the way you talk. And he was talking to somebody from Mississippi who was telling him, we learn at school that that's spelled M-I, crooked letter, crooked letter.
We learned that too. That's how they teach us, the same way. That's hilarious.
Yeah, it's, and that's the thing, it took me a while, and now I'm kind of in that in-between thing, because both vernaculars sound normal to me, so people will say stuff, or I'll say things to them, and you get that deer in the headlights look, and I go, what are you talking about? But
yeah,
I've got used to seeing that, and I'll say, what did I just say? Because I have to ask them, because then when they tell me, I can translate it. But
yeah, I like pie-eyed.
Pie-eyed is
like when we drink too much wine.
Right.
Pie-eyed.
Pie-eyed,
Or
and
pissed,
it can mean drunk, and it can also mean
tired,
annoyed,
full.
but stuffed. Stuffed is one too. That can mean full.
Or tired. Or done. Just done.
Just done.
Done.
Yeah.
Right. Yes, it's very interesting. I will tell you, by the way, she likes Adele. So that's three of us this week, because Tanya really liked Adele too.
Yeah.
So, but...
Go Adele. Go England.
But you like country music.
I love country music.
Is that weird? Is that weird?
Yeah. I grew up, my dad loved what he calls country and western. And that's what I'm always telling him, is nobody calls it country and western anymore. It just makes you seem really old, but it's 78, so who cares? But
what would be considered country western?
Country and western, when I hear that, I think of sort of the real old school, like Patsy Cline, Johnny Cash, Loretta Lynn.
Elvis.
Yeah, Elvis we think of as more sort of rock and roll, but he obviously did a lot of country stuff too.
They all were in their era, and they all kind of traveled together, like Elvis and Johnny Cash and all of them. You know, but yeah, I see what you're saying. But yeah, that's classic country.
Yeah.
Right?
But we would never refer to it in the UK as new country. In fact, here's a good snippet. Adele, when she was being interviewed over here, said she was stunned when she came over here to work on, I think it was 21. She was stunned listening to the local new country station, and she was like, there's all this awesome music that we don't hear in the UK.
It's like pop country.
Right, it's pop country, it is, exactly, but they don't really, it doesn't get necessarily played a lot, but it's getting played more. Last year in London they had a big concert in Hyde Park, and Zach Brown Band played in it, and you know, people were like, and I think they played with the Kings of Leon.
Nice.
Who are absolutely
They're
huge.
from Australia.
Are they? I thought they were from here.
No, the Kings of Leon sing Sex on Fire.
Yeah.
Look, you...
I thought they were from here.
My first trip to Australia, you know, we're in the Ute, right? And we're driving down the road. And Sex on Fire was like the #1 hit. This was a few years ago.
It's the naughty
and
song.
I'm like, you would never hear this in the middle of the day. In America. You would never, you know, it's just amazing, and their advertising is very graphic and things too.
Right. I like that.
Yeah, but I was shocked. But now you hear them in the States quite a bit, but not that particular song so much unless it's, you know, late.
Yeah. My cousin's daughter calls it the naughty song.
Yeah, I guess it is a naughty song, Sex on Fire.
But it's good, I like it. But yeah, I like lots of different kinds of music. I love jazz, love New Orleans. I like classical.
And you were just in New Orleans recently.
Yes.
She travels a lot too.
I like to travel.
She makes her way around.
And but it's I think that's what's different in the States when you travel though is you have to look for the differences. So it makes you work a little bit more, makes you work a little bit harder. In Europe, you get very spoiled because you can drive 4 hours and be in a totally different country. And you get different architecture, different language.
Right.
You used to get different money, but now they've all got euro. But each country prints its own euros, so they do look slightly different, but it has the same value, which makes it easier in some senses. But it's not as cool as it used to be because you used to get all this weird looking money. I should have brought some English money with me.
Yes.
It's very colourful, like Tanya was saying, the
Funny
Canadian money.
Like
Yeah.
Monopoly money.
I like that.
Yeah, loonies and toonies are really like hilarious to me. I'm trying to buy a cold drink out of the machine and I'm like, you know, these are just funny. Yeah. But yeah, that was pretty interesting. Actually, Tanya loaded me down with change.
Really?
I dropped her off at the airport. She's like dumping change on me. She's like, I have no use for this.
Right.
Where I'm going.
One of the things I like on a lot of flights within Europe, because you can't change the coin, they'll actually give you little envelopes and you can donate it as you get off the plane. So you can donate or you lose change and it goes to charity. So that's kind of a nice thing to do.
That is nice. I'll tell you what, we're going to hit the beach, but before we go, I have to tell you that my new favorite word is knickers. Private joke.
Yeah.
All right, you guys have a good day. I'm off to the beach now. We'll see you in the next video.